I am here with Clint Padgett, a very, very good friend of Forbes Books Radio. I don't know if this is the second or the third time you and I have talked, but you and I have had a lot of really good conversations.
Yeah.
Clint is CEO, Project Success, projectsuccess.com. His original book, Project Success Method, correct? Still available.
Still available.
Yes, but a new book is coming with Forbes Books. We'll talk more about it when it's ready, and I'm really excited to see it. So it's been a while, so give us a recap of what Project Success is all about, because the company and the history of the company is really quite fascinating.
Yeah, we've been around 36 years. We're based out of Atlanta, and everything we do is around projects. So we teach classes in project management, but the bulk of what we do is actually we help our clients get better at doing projects on their own. It's kind of a bad business model, but we try to work ourselves out of a job. But it's going to an organization where maybe they're not the best at projects and really give them that innate ability to do it internally and get better at delivering. So we do big projects like we plan all the Olympics, summer and winter. We do all the FIFA World Cups for Coca-Cola.
So when you say we do all the Olympics, you mean worldwide?
Yeah.
So you have a contract with the Olympic organization?
Well, it's actually with Coca-Cola.
So you do all which is probably basically the same thing as doing.
Yeah, so Coke is one of the biggest, it's the longest running sponsor, and we do all of their activation planning around the Olympics.
So it's interesting. When you say things like some organizations are not very good at projects, you said, I don't know if I'm quoting you exactly, but I'm close, right?
Yep.
How does a company survive if it's not very good at doing projects? I mean, isn't that what companies do as projects?
You'd be amazed at how many companies do not do project management very well. And I go into some Fortune 500 companies that have survived for 30 years doing projects in a very ad hoc way, and know that they're very profitable, but they know they leave a lot of money on the table because they haven't done them well.
Yes.
And so when we come in, we're able to show them how much more they could have.
Okay.
And then their profitability goes up.
But profitability is good. I mean, we all love more profit and maximizing our assets and all that. But it seems to me that if you can get better at doing projects and in a really methodical way, which is, I'm guessing, what Project Success does, since your first book was called the Project Success Method.
Yep.
But it seems to me that there's a lot of other really important benefits, like less turnover, happier workforce.
Exactly.
Maybe lower healthcare costs. I mean, I would think across the board you're going to see some tremendous benefits, which again roll back into the bottom line.
Correct. Yeah, it's not just about profitability, it's also about cost savings, and there is the burnout factor that you're able to alleviate, and people are happier, and you do see healthier employees as a result as well.
So why are some companies really good at project management and some are bad? What is the fundamental difference?
I think that some people don't think process very well. They're, especially, so I'll talk bad about engineers because I am one. And, leave me alone. I'll go back to my cubicle and I'll design the perfect widget. But I don't want to come to your meetings. I don't want to come to your super project management meetings or your marketing meetings. I'll go off by myself and I'll design the perfect widget. The problem is when I bring that back to the team and say, hey, look, I've designed the perfect widget, the marketing person says, nobody wants to buy that.
Yes.
Right? You're the only person. If you'd done this one thing differently, we could sell 1 million of them.
And maybe if we had been talking along the way and you had come to a few meetings, you would have saved a lot of work in the past and a lot of work going forward.
Exactly. So I think that, engineers like myself, we'd like to be in kind of a silo. We'd like to go back because if you're in a silo, it's just about you. You control your destiny, right? But when you talk about teams, then you're no longer in a silo. Now I'm having to be committed to you, which not always makes me comfortable, right, to do that. And people don't like meetings, and so part of project management is really pulling people out of their silos and forcing them to talk one-on-one, communicate. And that's really what the second book is more about. It's about how do I take people like myself, who's an engineer by training, and pull us out of our silo and make us have communication skills.
I would imagine it's not make so much as make you want it.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, create an environment where you understand the value of it so that you want it as much as everyone else.
And see the benefit in it. I mean, that's the thing is people, like, as I said, people oftentimes like to be in silos.
Yes.
So when I teach classes, there might be 50 people in the class, and to me it's always interesting. All the engineers always sit together, always. And all the IT people sit together. And they do that because they speak kind of the same language.
Yes.
They get the same jokes. Dilbert's funny to them, you know.
Yes.
And they also...
I totally don't get Dilbert, so just on the record on that one.
Well, engineers, we get Dilbert.
Yeah, I know you do.
And both groups want to sit as far away from possible as from the marketing people. And I always tell this story, and there's a grain of truth in it, which is why even though it's stereotypical, there's a grain of truth. And I play the devil's advocate of I am the typical engineer, and I say, you marketing people, I don't understand you. You big fluffy clouds, big picture stuff, and you don't really get anything done. You have a lot of lunches, strategy this, strategy that, and when I'm an engineer, I get something done every day. When I go home, there's a piece of code you can play with, there's something you can touch, feel, see. And then the marketing person usually says something like, well, thank you for that very unflattering description of what we do. But Clint, you need people like me, because without people like me giving you direction, you guys are so far down in the weeds, you'd actually fall off the cliff. You run into the wall. And truly, that's what project management should do. If you have a good process, it should pull people out of the clouds down a bit, people like me up out of the weeds a little bit, put us on the same plane to talk about our project. Because at the end of the day, if I'm designing something you can't sell in marketing, we're not making money.
Yeah.
And if marketing's out there selling something we can't build, we're not making money.
Yes. And you know what? One of the things I'm taking away from what you're saying is that, well, the expression is, I think the expression is, the fish rots from the head.
I haven't
never heard that.
One. I like it, but I haven't heard that one.
Well, I mean, the idea is that we're really talking about leadership issues here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if the leaders are not demanding great process from their people, then you're going to have not great process and affirmation for everyone, positive reinforcement that it's okay not to have good process.
And it sends the wrong message to the troops that if the leadership doesn't have a clue about how to manage projects, then the organization is not moving in a succinct way.
Well, you would, in an organization that doesn't value good process, you're not even going to be rewarded for demanding it. There might actually be disincentives for you doing the quote unquote right thing that would be better for the company on the bottom line.
And as a team member, it's very disorganized. So I'm working on 17 different projects at once, and everybody thinks theirs is the top priority.
Yes.
And that's another joke that's actually true, but I like to say it as a joke is, how many projects do you have currently going on, and how many of them are top priority? And the answer is always all of them.
Yes.
Well, my belief is if they're all top priority, then none of them really are.
Right.
They're all the same priority.
But again, the prioritization has to come from above.
It has to come from above.
Right. I mean, for a variety of reasons, one of which is it's somebody above who probably has an understanding of the bigger picture to really understand why X is more important than Z.
One would hope.
Yes, one would hope, or at least when you get done with them.
Exactly.
So I seem to remember that your entrance into the company Project Success is an interesting story, because you've referred to yourself now several times as an engineer.
Yep.
So one might think that you would be unlikely a person to be telling other companies how to be successful with their project management, since you're kind of the enemy in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my background is, when I grew up in South Carolina, I always wanted to be an engineer. Ever since I was 9 years old, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. And I didn't go into engineering right away. I went in the Navy first, and after 6 years in the Navy, I went out and I was able to get into Georgia Tech. So I do have an engineering degree from Tech, but my career took a different path. The company Project Success, I didn't start the company. I joined there when it was about 11 years old, and they were actually going to manage they were actually going to help plan the Olympics, and I wanted to work on that project. So
are we talking about the Atlanta Olympics?
Atlanta Olympics,
okay.
Yeah, sorry. It was 1994, and the city of Atlanta had just been awarded the Olympics. Coca-Cola, of course, is a major sponsor, and I wanted to work on that project. So I was a Coke employee at the time. I left Coke to work for Project Success, and that's kind of how I got into the business of managing projects, and I ended up loving the job so much that I decided to stay. And that was 26 years ago now, so been doing it ever since. But so my background is unique in that the way I grew up, my dad was a serial entrepreneur. So we had all kind of businesses all the time, and what that forced me to do was deal with people on a daily basis, because I would carry out the groceries, I'd sweep the lot, I'd whatever. I mean,
whatever his business was, you were there working with him.
Exactly. That's why you have kids, right?
That's what my father said. Well, he said it was for yard work, but it's the same principle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So even though my math brain loves math and I love engineering, by the same token, I grew up in an environment where I had to work with people. And I think that that's a rough spot that a lot of us that are technically gifted have, is this either unwillingness or inability to actually have conversations, and we don't like it. We'd rather go back, as I said, to our cubicle because I control that environment. And I'm just lucky enough that I was raised where I didn't have that choice. I had to go talk to people, and I might deal with the mayor of the town, I might deal with the bum on the street in the same day. And so to me, people are people, and I love people, and so I've become very much of a people person, and I like talking to people, which makes me really good at my job because I understand the math side of the project management, yes, but I also understand the people side. And people is, I think, the more difficult part of managing projects is dealing with people.
So help me understand. So I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, this guy Clint Padgett, it sounds like he really knows what he's doing, and Coca-Cola agrees. So that's a pretty good, not a bad testimonial.
Not a bad client, yeah.
And he's helping Coke with the Olympics. So you're at the top of the top, right? By the way, I'm talking with Clint Padgett. The company is Project Success. They're at projectsuccess.com. Their website, again, projectsuccess.com. His first book, Project Success Method. He has a new book coming out next year with Forbes Books. So it seems to me that if I'm listening to this and I'm recognizing in what you're describing, oh, there's all these reasons why we should do better at project management. What kind of company can engage with Project Success, and what does that engagement look like?
Well, I think the beauty of the method itself is it's very generic, so it works on any kind of project management. And we do big construction projects in New York. We've done semiconductor chip design projects, marketing projects, obviously big events like the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics. So really, any organization, I would say that where time matters. If you're late, it costs a lot of money, mm-hmm, and profitability matters. Then mm-hmm, you can help. We can help you. And so basically, what we do is we come in, and we teach classes to get everybody on the same page. And that's about 2 days, and then we will stick around for another 3 days and plan your project and your environment with your unique set of challenges. And then over the course of a few months, we help you get better at doing it on your own.
And so it seems to me you're hitting on all the three important parts, because I think in business we're all familiar with the person who shows up and does a workshop and then we never see him again. So implementation is low. There's the team that shows up and does the consulting, but they leave after a few days or a few months and they're gone. So the actual success is not as high as we had hoped. It sounds like you have really taken it beyond that to make sure that we are successful by holding our hand as long as we need hand holding.
Yeah, some of our clients, we actually stick around for decades because they're so large.
Well,
Coca-Cola, Caterpillar's a client. We've been there for 30 years. So some of them are just so big and have so many projects that they need our help for a long, long time. But our goal really is to come in, get you up and running, and get out. Because we're a small boutique company. We only got 17 employees, so we can't afford to have stick around forever.
Sure. I guess you can afford it if it makes sense for the client and it makes sense for you, but it's not your model.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, which is also great news to a business. Is often in the world of consulting, the consultant is trying to figure out a way to stick around for 30 years, and you're actually you will stick around if it makes sense, but it's not actually your model. You want to create self-sufficiency as opposed to dependency.
I was talking to a new client who was just asking about our services, and then he says, "How do you work? Why would you work yourself out of a job? You're supposed to be here forever." And I said, "Well, it's a bad business model, but it's worked for 36 years. Yeah. So I guess we'll stick with it."
I guess we'll keep doing it. I want to ask you one last question, Clint, and that is, and this maybe it's a little off topic, maybe it's not. When you see organizations managing their projects badly, and you know how to help them manage their projects well, what is the impact of that on the rest of your life? What is the impact of that on your family and your friends and organizations that you're involved with outside of your work?
I think it has a very positive impact. Again, if a team member, so I think a lot of times people hear the words project management and they cringe.
I'm that guy.
And I think there's a couple reasons why. One is their whole life experience has been when somebody says project management, they felt pain because they use project management in a punitive way to beat you over the head with a schedule. And that's not how it's supposed to work. Actually, project management should be helpful. It should, when we do it well and we do it right, I can actually tell you if there's 17 things on your to-do list for the next 2 weeks, I can tell you which 3 have got to be done perfectly, or the project will be late, and the other 14 we can delay those.
Yes,
and that's a very comforting feeling as a team member, knowing that my project manager's got my back and will actually work with me and not use a schedule to hurt me, but actually use a schedule to help me.
Yes,
and so their life is better. They're less stressed out. Companies do have less turnover when you do project management well, because people don't get burned out and quit.
I guess part of what I'm asking is, if I come to your house, is it a series of well-managed projects, or does that stay at the door?
No, that
work?
stays at the door. They always say the plumber has the worst pipes, right?
Yeah, or the cobbler's kids have no shoes.
Yeah, my wife she's always like, oh, we got to plan the vacation. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I planned everything else in my life. Vacations are going to be shoot from the hip.
See, I mean, I think it's really interesting to hear that, because it's part of the message here is that there's a time for planning, and there's a time for not planning, but you should choose it, not be a victim of it. And when a company is not planning simply because they don't know how to plan, they're probably a victim of it as opposed to choosing it. Because why would you choose it, particularly in a situation where it can affect your bottom line and the health and the well-being of your people and so many other factors? That if you're choosing that, it's a terrible choice. Yeah. You're not choosing it. You probably just don't know better. You're reacting, or you might even be hiding your head in the sand. So I would recommend picking up Clint's book. It's the Project Success Method. Maybe reaching out to them through their website, projectsuccess.com. He's Clint Padgett, the CEO of Project Success. And Clint, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.